Is WWE done with Peacock and moving all of their pay-per-views to Netflix? This gets kind of tricky, but we're going to talk about it in today's episode of The Ango Show, plus so much more. Yes. Welcome back to The Ango Show. Obviously, a very big historic day. Yeah, honestly, I can't even really find the words to describe how crazy today is because there's just tons of news and tons of big things happening. So let's just take it easy. Let's kick things off with Chad Gable. Obviously, on this channel, I talk about news coming from all sources, and sometimes they're accurate and sometimes they're not. But I think it's important to talk about the topics that are important to me, and this one seems pretty realistic. Coming from Slice Wrestling, they have reported that WWE officials are currently discussing a major push for Chad Gable in 2024 post WrestleMania 40. Basically, since Triple H took over WWE Creative, he has made sure that Chad Gable is featured prominently on WWE television and usually schedules at least one match and or appearance. This was done intentionally to prepare him for a larger push down the line. Obviously, we saw the Chad Gable Gunther storyline. That was incredible. We've been seeing them throw down some incredible matches with guys like Bronson Reed and Ivar. Basically, many within the WWE consider Chad Gable the modern day Kurt Angle, and Gable does have tons of backstage support from the front office and the locker room for always being a safe and professional talent. Obviously, all the plans for WrestleMania 40 seem to be finalized. However, WWE does have plans to push him as a singles guy post WrestleMania. Look, I don't know how accurate Slice Wrestling is here, but what I do know is this sounds very realistic, and quite honestly, it sounds very deserving for a guy like Chad Gable. He's killing it on TV. He's having great matches, but it's not just the matches that is so captivating. It's the fact that Chad Gable has a very good, strong character that has people interested in him. He's able to invoke emotion from the fan base, and because he's able to do that alongside having great matches, people are fans of Chad Gable. And yeah, the comparison to Kurt Angle is always going to really be there. Look, I think it makes sense. Chad Gable should be on WWE television as a singles guy. It's time to break up Alpha Academy. I don't want to see Chad Gable associated with a comedy act. Right now, you have the Creed brothers and Akira Tozawa and Maxine and Otis and Chad Gable all working together, and it's all very comedic. But in my opinion, Chad Gable is better than that and should be getting away from that as soon as possible. Chad Gable getting a singles push post WrestleMania 40 would be a very smart idea, and I want to see Chad Gable hold mid-card championship belts before the World Heavyweight Championship. And yes, I said World Heavyweight Championship because I do believe at some point Chad Gable should eventually become a World Heavyweight Champion. And let me just be very clear here. I do predict that the U.S. title will get moved to WWE Raw post-draft. However, if Chad Gable remains on Raw and the U.S. title comes to Raw, he should be holding the U.S. title. And if Chad Gable is, going for the IC title, regardless of where Gunther is, yes, Chad Gable should dethrone Gunther. Now, obviously, I fantasy book a lot. I've thrown out scenarios of Okada and Gunther and Brock Lesnar and Gunther, and there's so many different things you can do. But looking at the roster and television as it stands, Chad Gable is the guy that I feel like should be defeating Gunther. So that's what I would like to see. Don't know the accuracy of this report, but again, we talk about stuff from Dave Meltzer and Sean and PW Torch and PW Insider and so many different sources. This is one that really intrigues me, and I can see this actually happening. Very much so. With that being said, I want to turn our attention to WWE Raw. Obviously, the big Netflix deal was announced today. If you guys missed the emergency live pod, I really wanted to talk to you guys about this because Alex Sherman of CNBC has confirmed a massive change for WWE Raw, and this one is one that actually excites me. So yes, they're going to Netflix, and yes, it's a massive deal. But if you are a paid subscriber of Netflix that doesn't have ads in your account, right? If you have the ad-free version of Netflix, then you do not have to worry about commercials for WWE Raw coming to Netflix. According to Alex Sherman of CNBC, he says a new detail from the WWE Raw Netflix deal: Netflix subs that don't get ads, which is the vast majority, Raw matches will be scripted around commercial breaks. So you'll get some non-important match action, sustained headlocks, exclamation point, instead of commercials. You won't get ads. I want to touch on this because I think WWE going to Netflix will go away from picture-in-picture ads. Obviously, it's a different structure with a streaming company versus cable. And I think, if WWE basically does what they've been doing with PIP ads, they just do that for Netflix. I think that's fine. These guys can do moves and stuff like that. But as long as it's not taken away from the storytelling on TV, that's all I really care about. But I do like the fact that this Netflix deal with Raw is going to be mostly commercial free. For a lot of people, I know a lot of people who use DVR specifically so they can skip commercials. I have a lot of friends who enjoy watching wrestling, but they hate commercials. So they watch WWE and AEW on DVR. This is a substitute for that, and this is a good alternative for that. Look, I think this is great. I think commercials ruin television, to be honest. I know why it exists, and I understand it's never going to really go away fully, but I do think it's bothersome. You watch the NFL and there's commercials every 2 minutes. You watch basketball every timeout, every out of bounds, every few plays there's commercials. You watch soccer, there's not that many, or as some of you like to call it, football. But of course, with wrestling, there's commercials all the time. During matches, after matches, before matches, sometimes 2 commercials during matches. I like the idea of them going away from commercials. I do have to wonder, how the hell does Netflix plan to monetize this? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make their money on this, but I do fully suspect that WWE will, in fact, put advertisements on the ring apron, on the ring mat, on the barricade, because WWE is going to want that ad revenue. And I think for Netflix, I definitely expect a price increase at some point. But hey, who knows? You never know. I don't want to make that early prediction because nobody really expected this to happen. Yes, of course, it was always brought up as a possibility, but nobody really thought Netflix and WWE would do this, let alone bring pay-per-views, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT to the international audience. And that really brings the conversation as to what should we expect with Netflix and Peacock. There is a lot of dialogue here because of the WWE Netflix deal that perhaps WWE goes away from its library being on Peacock in 2026. And I find this to be a fascinating topic because WWE right now is testing the waters with Netflix. Netflix is testing the waters with WWE. At this stage, can this be like the stepping stone for WWE to, and I'm just being honest, can this be the stepping stone for WWE to eventually, in 5-6 years, say, hey, we're moving absolutely everything to Netflix? That's a real thing. Now, something that a lot of people aren't talking about with this particular deal for WWE Raw and Netflix is that the international markets will have access to WWE PLEs. So here's the thing. If you're in Canada, if you're in the UK, hell, if you're in the West Coast, and this one is a really big deal. In America, if you're on the West Coast, you don't always get the live feed of WWE, right? Especially if you have like YouTube TV and some of those other streaming TV services. So this platform will have synchronized viewing experience, regardless if you're in the UK, if you're in Canada, if you're in Latin America, pretty much where Netflix is available globally. And the reason why I bring this up is because I could see WWE in a few years say, hey, we're going to move everything to Netflix. And it would start, obviously, with the Peacock library and PLEs moving to Netflix. However, I am a little bit apprehensive towards this idea because I like the idea of everything being all in one. But at the same time, too, Netflix hasn't really been good with live content. This is a major shift for them. So before I can start thinking about PLEs being moved to Netflix, right? Before that can happen, I need to see how the experience is live on Monday nights first. But I think it does make a lot of sense for WWE to eventually pull away from the Peacock deal. But I suspect that that's going to be a lot of money extra that's going to have to come out of the pocket for whoever it may be, whether it's Netflix, whether it's NBC, or whoever technically wants the rights. I don't know. It's crazy that WWE has done this, but it's all thanks to Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel. They've made some major changes. I look forward to seeing how this all goes down, but please, Netflix, do not drop the ball, because if you do want those PLEs, yeah, you're gonna have to make sure the live experience is smooth like butter. And I just kind of want to throw this out there. Just really important to kind of throw this out there. Don't charge extra for pay-per-views. Do not charge extra for pay-per-views, because Netflix Premium without ads, I think, is like $22 or $24.99 a month. So if you're going to increase it more, that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're going to start charging $40-50 for a pay-per-view, that's ridiculous. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is something we can expect? I want to hear from you down below. Oh, yes.